We spend our lives trying to control everything. Our jobs, our relationships, our future. But the truth is, the only thing we've ever truly had control over is how we think. And once you learn to master that, life changes in ways you never imagined. This is the story of a woman who discovered the quiet power of her mind, and changed not just her life, but the hearts of everyone around her. Her name was Evelyn Harper. Once upon a time, Evelyn had everything she thought mattered. A steady job at the bank, a husband who made her laugh, a teenage son who loved baseball. They weren't rich, but they were comfortable. Then came the layoff. Then her husband's accident. Then the medical bills. Then the foreclosure notice that felt like the last punch from a world she'd already stopped fighting. She moved into a small, one-bedroom apartment above a grocery store. Her son, Ben, went to live with her sister until she could get back on her feet. Every night, she sat by the window with a cup of cold tea and asked the same question to the quiet streetlights outside. Why me? One afternoon, while taking out her trash, Evelyn noticed an old man sitting on the curb next to the laundromat. He was feeding crumbs to a flock of pigeons. His clothes were worn but clean. His face, weathered yet peaceful. He nodded at her. Afternoon, ma'am. You look like someone who's thinking too much. Evelyn gave a weak smile. You could say that. He chuckled softly. I'm Frank, he said. Used to be a mechanic. Now I'm just a pigeon therapist. She laughed despite herself. It was the first laugh she'd had in days. They began to talk about simple things at first: weather, groceries, the stubborn dryer in the laundromat. Then, one day, Evelyn opened up. I used to think hard work always paid off, she said quietly. But now it just feels like no matter what I do, life finds a way to knock me down. Frank nodded, tossing a crumb toward a pigeon. Yeah, life can be a mean teacher, he said. But it's got one rule: it won't let you graduate until you learn the lesson. Evelyn frowned. And what lesson is that supposed to be? He smiled. That peace isn't something life gives you. It's something you make inside your own head. She tilted her head. That sounds like something people say to make you feel better. Doesn't really change the bills. Frank's eyes twinkled. Maybe not the bills. But it changes how you face them. He paused. Let me tell you a story, Evelyn. Years ago, Frank began. I had a wife, kids, and a small repair shop. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Then one winter, a fire broke out in the garage. Everything burned: the tools, the cars, the shop, the savings. Insurance didn't cover much. We had to move into a small trailer park. I thought I'd never recover. I'd sit up every night, angry at God, angry at the world, angry at myself. My wife tried to comfort me, but I was too far gone in my bitterness. I pushed her away. One morning, I woke up to a note on the kitchen table. She'd taken the kids to her mother's place. Said she needed space, that my darkness was swallowing the whole house. And that broke me. He looks down, his eyes glistening. A pigeon lands near his shoe. One night, I went to the park ready to give up on everything. And then, this old woman sitting on a bench looked at me and said, Mister, what are you feeding your mind? I was confused. She pointed at the pigeons and said, if you feed them crumbs, they come back for more. If you stop feeding them, they fly away. Then she looked straight into my eyes and said, your thoughts work the same way. If you keep feeding the sad ones, they'll never leave. But if you feed the good ones, gratitude, hope, love, they'll grow, and one day you'll fly again too. Frank smiled faintly. That woman saved my life. Because from that night on, I stopped feeding the dark thoughts. And little by little, the light came back. Something in Evelyn shifted that day. She began to notice how much time she spent replaying her failures. How her mornings started with dread instead of gratitude. How even her reflection looked tired of her own thoughts. So, she made a promise to herself. For 1 week, just one, she tried to change her inner dialogue. Every morning, she'd whisper, "Today, I will find one good thing." At first, it felt silly. But then, she noticed small changes. The coffee shop owner smiled and gave her a free muffin. A stranger helped her pick up dropped groceries. Her landlord fixed her heater without charging extra. Tiny things, but they added up. Her world hadn't changed. She had. A few weeks later, Evelyn checked her mailbox and found a letter from the bank where she used to work. Her old manager had recommended her for a part-time position at a local community center. It wasn't much, but it was something. That night, she sat by her window with a warm cup of tea. The same view. The same small apartment. But for the first time, she felt peace. She smiled to herself. Maybe Frank's right, she whispered. Maybe it really does start in the mind. Months passed. Evelyn became known at the community center not just for her work, but for her warmth. When coworkers complained, she listened. When single mothers cried over bills, she comforted them. When teenagers felt lost, she told them her story, how she learned to feed the right thoughts. People began calling her Miss Evie, the calm in the storm. Her small acts of kindness rippled outward. Soon, the whole center felt different, lighter, warmer, more hopeful. Even her son Ben noticed the change. "Mom, you sound happier," he said on a call. She smiled. Maybe I finally stopped fighting life and started listening to it. One afternoon, as Evelyn was leaving work, she saw Frank again, sitting at the same spot, pigeons fluttering around. She ran over, laughing. "Frank. You won't believe it. I got promoted. And my son's coming home next month." He looked up, smiling that same calm smile. "I believe it," he said. "You stopped feeding fear." She sat beside him. "You know, I think you were that old woman in your own story." He chuckled. "Maybe. Or maybe we all meet someone when we're ready to remember what we already knew." Evelyn looked at the pigeons. For the first time, she noticed how beautiful they were. How free. Evelyn's life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. She still had bills. Still had long days. But her heart was lighter. She'd learned the truth Frank had lived. That happiness isn't about controlling life. It's about controlling the story you tell yourself about it. So if you ever feel like life is unfair, remember Evelyn Harper. A woman who lost everything and found herself. Who learned that peace doesn't wait for the world to get better. It begins the moment you do. Because when you change your thoughts, you change your feelings. When you change your feelings, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, you change your world.